Were the strategies that I used in my Beedrill vs Butterfree video the best ones? Would it be possible to shave significant amounts of time off of one or both of their finish times? These are the questions I've been asking myself recently, and today I'm going to answer them. If you haven't seen the previous video, there's a link to it at the top right as well as in the description. Watch that one first. It contains all the context and the rules. Now, spoilers ahead, you've been warned. There are two parts to this video. First, I'll redo Beedrill's run and discuss the major changes that I made. After that's finished, I'll redo Butterfree's run and take it apart as well. This won't be detailed. Most of the details are in the other video anyways. So here's what I found. Before Brock, I can actually optimize and save some time. So here's how I do it. I buy as many potions as possible to avoid trips back to the Pokemon Center. Then I raise Weedle to level 8 in the grass south of Viridian City. This lets it evolve and get a fantastic defense boost. Paired with the 35 power points in Poison Sting and the super effective damage against bug types, I can go north now and knock out Metapod and Caterpie in the forest, which is honestly much faster than continuing to train south of Viridian. Once I evolve to Beedrill, I can just sweep through and defeat all the trainers, and then proceed to train as I did before in the northernmost entrance to Viridian Forest. I level up to 20 on the junior trainer by the way this time, and that lets me defeat Brock faster, without having to chip away slowly at the Geodude. All in all, that's a time saving of around 3 minutes in this split of the race. And now we're going to jump really far forward in time. So if Blaine is really hard, why not just do Sabrina first? This is the next major optimization because Swift allows for Beedrill to set up during Abra's flashes. After that, I can just use it to sweep through the remainder of her Pokemon with ease. With her out of the way, I can't delay Blaine any longer. You'll notice that I'm a higher level than I was last time. I've invested more time in training in areas where Beedrill is strong, so this allows me to defeat him on my first attempt, not 11 this time. I also get lucky against Giovanni, and I defeat him on the first attempt as well, because he uses a guard spec on Rhydon. After optimizing the early routing, fixing my mistakes in the later gyms, and improving a million small details that I can't mention, I could have actually started the league at a time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 56 seconds. That's 22 minutes and 44 seconds faster than the last run. It's also much closer to Butterfree's original pre-league time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 4 seconds. Beedrill has really caught up this time. But your comments have taught me something. So I use this extra time to get a few more levels so that I won't struggle against Lance. Now I'll face the league and save between members. I'm starting at level 55 this time, so that is 4 levels lower than last time even despite my training. Lorelei is very easy because of how her AI works. The Dugong uses rest 80% of the time on the second turn. Knowing this, I can ensure that it's damaged, and once it falls asleep, Beedrill can just finish its setup completely. Now Hyper Beam becomes her worst nightmare, and it cuts through her entire team like a hot knife through butter. Or ice in this case. After receiving Mega Drain from Erica in my previous video, I accidentally sold it when buying Hyper Beam. This time I didn't make that mistake, and it's actually useful here against Bruno to speed up the fight against his Onix. Agatha opens with Gengar. The worst thing it can do is set up Confuse Ray. The more you boost your attack with Swords Dance, the more damage you take if you hit yourself. Twin Needle is great against her ghosts as it does neutral damage to them in this generation, so I can use Hyper Beam against the Golbat and then use Twin Needle for super effective damage against Arbok. The final Gengar confuses Beedrill. I was so worried here, but it pulls itself together, lands Twin Needle, and Gengar faints. For Lance, Beedrill needs some new moves. Rest to recover health against the Dragonairs to prepare for Aerodactyl, and Reflect to prevent the damage that this prehistoric terror can dish out with super effective flying moves. Turn 1 I use Reflect, and Gyarados uses Dragon Rage. I start to set up Swords Dance, and it uses Hyper Beam. It needs to recharge, so I set up one more time. Now, it's Beedrill's time, but Hyper Beam misses and Gyarados knocks us out. Okay, so that's our first loss. Second fight, I go for the same turn ordering. This time though, it uses Hyper Beam twice, and that allows me to fully set up against it. I use Hyper Beam, it connects, and Gyarados survives because I got a critical hit. Then the not dragon flying thing without wings uses Hyper Beam, but Beedrill survives. That gets it through the recharge turn. I'm moving on to the Dragonairs. I need to take things slow here so that I can go head to head with Aerodactyl while in green health. Once I get myself into a good position, I strike back and move on to the scariest Pokemon of the league yet. Aerodactyl outspeeds with Wing Attack, but Reflect helps Beedrill take very little damage. I use Hyper Beam, but it doesn't faint because I got a critical hit. That allows it to use Fly, so that must be it. Beedrill survives and knocks it out. Dragonite is last. Beedrill outspeeds and knocks it out. The cool, totally not a bee, definitely a wasp has defeated the Elite Four now. The champion is last. Here's the issue. While Sandslash thinks Earthquake is not very effective against Beedrill because of how the AI determines type effectiveness, it does no Slash. This is devastating. I have to wait until luck aligns and I can set up against it without fainting. This took 7 fights, but after that I can start the sweep. Beedrill is awesome. I keep saying that Scythes for hands is so cool, but this thing has stingers for hands. If my girlfriend saw one of these in real life, I don't think she'd ever go outside again. Beedrill's new run clocks in at 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 43 seconds. That's faster than its previous time at the same level, and it's faster than Butterfree's original time. So I also did a consistent league run, and I'll just talk over it and explain my thinking. I'm really scared going into this one for the Sandslash, and while I didn't have issues with it in my previous video, this last run with saves I did. Since my previous no save league time from the previous video is 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 33 seconds, I decided to invest a lot more time into training before I attempt the league. I can still beat that time and be at a higher level. At level 61, I'm ready for the league, and because of my previous attempts, I'm very confident. This is all that Beedrill needs, and I get through the entire league on my first attempt, with a total time of 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 40 seconds for the run. That's 3 minutes and 53 seconds faster than my previous attempt at a consistent league run. So I'm really happy with these new times that I was able to get for Beedrill. They're a big improvement over the previous runs. But what about Butterfree? Because so many of us love it so much, all of you were quite adamant to suggest many strategies in the comments. 3 of these strategies that you suggested stood out to me. 1. Use Harden with Butterfree to stack the badge boost. Beedrill has access to it through Swords Dance, so evening the playing field with Harden might do it. I did this in my very first video on this channel, and while it would be interesting to see what current me can bring to the table with this strategy, I think that the other 2 options are better. 2. Use Butterfree's time buffer that it accumulated at Brock to level up more before the league instead of just trying over and over and failing at low levels. In the previous video, I got a bit obsessed with the pursuit of the lowest time and lowest level finish possible, and I just attempt over and over without training. I did honestly believe victory was just around the corner, and then after several attempts, the sunk cost fallacy set in and I just kept going. Definitely a misplay overall. 3. Use Substitute to improve the consistency of the Sleep Powder Psychic combo. This one is very intriguing, and it's gonna be the cornerstone of my new Butterfree playthrough. Alright, let's go. In terms of rooting, nothing has changed from before. This time though, I do manage to get Butterfree past Brock at a lower time as well, so it maintains its early game advantage even though Beedrill shaved off time in that split as well. The major difference between this run and my last run is that I'm going to actively choose to spend Butterfree's time lead in 2 ways. 1. Picking up items that have a high sell value. 2. Training in Saffron to increase my level before the last 4 gym leaders. I want to avoid as many reattempts as possible. So in all the runs with these 2 bugs so far, I've bought the expensive TM for Hyper Beam for Beedrill, and it's really feeling very pampered. But now Butterfree gets to be the pampered diva. Substitute costs 7,700 coins to purchase, so I need 153,000 Pokédollars to afford it. After completing the entire Rocket plotline, fighting all the trainers in Sylph, and selling everything that I own, I finally have the money that I need. The act of buying this thing sets me back a serious amount of time as well. I'm clocking in at a similar time to when Butterfree was previously defeating Giovanni, but this time I've only defeated 4 gyms, and I've got 4 left to go. So Substitute better be worth it. Koga is the first opportunity to try it out. Substitute prevents stat changes, poison, confusion, burns, and freeze. I can still be put to sleep or paralyzed though. In this fight, I try out Substitute by itself without using Sleep Powder. Just preventing some of these status conditions is all that Butterfree needs to defeat Koga with ease. Sabrina lets me try out the Sleep Powder and Substitute combo. And oh my, is this incredible. It prevents all loss of accuracy against the Abra. Kadabra is next, and I just put it to sleep and knock it out. Alakazam comes out, and the stress of this fight is largely gone, because I know that I have 2 turns to attempt to put it back to sleep if it wakes up. So it needs to first wake up, then break my Substitute, and then I need to miss. After all of that, it will finally actually hit me. So, with Sabrina out of the way, how about Blaine and Giovanni? Blaine isn't so bad this time, and Butterfree actually gets through on its first attempt. It's time for Giovanni. He sends out Dugtrio first and uses a guard spec. I miss my Sleep Powder, and then he tries Fissure against my Flying type. This use of Fissure gives me a chance to set up Substitute, and then I use Psychic to knock it out. Against the Persian, I use Sleep Powder, and the Persian actually ends up breaking my Substitute with a crit slash. I put it back to sleep, and Psychic knocks it out. Nidoqueen comes out, and I put it to sleep. The next 2 turns, I take it down with Psychic. And then this same scenario repeats with Nidoking. Substitute is essential against Rhydon. This will prevent a Rock Slide knockout. I'm able to put it to sleep, but it wakes up twice. Finally, the 3rd time it stays asleep, and I'm able to use Psychic to knock it out over 2 turns. Butterfree defeats Giovanni with a time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 19 seconds. That's roughly 10 minutes slower than last time, but things feel so much more consistent this time. All 4 of the final gym leaders were single attempts. The strategy against the League is simple. I'm sure you've picked it up by now. It's clearly on display against Lorelei. Put their Pokemon to sleep, get a Substitute, and then whittle them down with Solar Beam or Psychic. I'm really impressed with how solid this makes Butterfree feel. Just knowing that I can tank 1 hit without going down changes the psychology of these fights altogether. While I'm not sweeping through Pokemon as quickly like Beedrill was, I can move more methodically and finish Lorelei off. We're gonna skip Bruno and just go straight to Agatha. That should honestly be a narration rule when the Pokemon knows Psychic. Substitute turn 1 here, not Sleep Powder. That allows me to prevent confusion from landing. The first Gengar can't even do real damage to me, so if it attacks my Substitute, it will hold. After the Substitute's up, I can use Psychic to put in serious work. I'm using Agatha's tactics against her, and boy does it feel good. But that feeling might honestly not last very long, because Lance is next, and he was seriously awful in my last playthrough. I can't even describe how frustrating it was. The main issue was that Aerodactyl has super effective flying moves and regularly gets critical hits. Reflect solved the super effective damage problem, but it left Butterfree open to critical hits. But this time Substitute solves both of these problems entirely. I can now tank 1 hit, put Aerodactyl to sleep, and knock it out consistently. With a small blue Rhydon in front of my Butterfree, I defeat the Dragon Master on my first attempt. So if I beat the champion now, I will have got through the league on my first attempt, which was supposed to be my run with saves, but I guess it would be my consistent run as well. Butt opens with Sandslash. That's not a good sentence. Note to self, never say that again. I get set up and then slowly take it down with Psychics. Alakazam is next. It outspeeds Butterfree and breaks my Substitute right away. From here, things begin to spiral out of control. I don't have a healing move, so I can't use Double Edge to knock Alakazam out. If I use Psychic to defeat it, I won't have any PP left for the rest of the fight. I tried 3 more fights with this moveset, but I realized then that I just need to let go of Substitute. It might have been expensive and taken a lot of work to get, but it's just not good for the champion. Teaching Butterfree Rest to replace Substitute, I'm able to defeat the champion on my first attempt. That was much easier with this moveset. It does feel scarier not having the extra turn of buffer though, but Rest gets the results while Substitute doesn't. Butterfree completes the game with a time of 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 28 seconds. This is 9 minutes and 33 seconds faster than my last playthrough. Additionally, it's only 1 minute and 15 seconds faster than the new Beedrill time. One thing that's worth mentioning here is I think there's a rivalry brewing, because this new time with Butterfree is only 1 minute and 15 seconds faster than Beedrill's new time. A league run with Butterfree without saving takes longer. The reason is Agatha's final Gengar. In my previous battle, it outsped me and just used Confuse Ray while my substitute was up, so it did nothing. The fact that it moves first though is what makes this hard. It can use Hypnosis, which still works even when I have a substitute in place. And then while I'm asleep, it can just break my substitute and knock Butterfree out. It also takes 3 hits to knock the Gengar out at Butterfree's current level, so even just spamming Psychic is a bit scary. After I lose 5 times, I use 3 rare candies, and this allows me to now outspeed the Gengar. With this improvement, I feel like this fight is now consistent, and Butterfree completes the rest of the league and gets a time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 32 seconds. 52 seconds faster than Beedrill's new consistent league time. So these two are neck and neck. This time Butterfree finished with a lower level both times, and with a faster time when saving between league members. Beedrill did get the faster consistent league time though, but only by a small margin. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, ring the chime echo, comment, and share with a friend. My patrons are incredible. Thanks for all the support. I really appreciate it. I'll just quickly say that I also tested Beedrill with Substitute, but it doesn't feel very good. There isn't a way to get enough money to get both Substitute and Hyper Beam in this style of playthrough, so you have to choose between them. And in this case, Hyper Beam just makes the most sense. I didn't show that playthrough today because honestly, it just didn't feel very good. Substitute and Sleep Powder are just made for each other, like me and my girlfriend. That's a reference and a wrap for this video. You're incredible. I'll see you next time.